Hey guys, welcome back to the After Hours. I'm the A-Tail Beast, and today we're going to talk about evolution in the stock market. Now, to help us talk about that, we're going to briefly cover everything from psychology to metaphysics. So let's get into it. First, we're going to look at a few theories from ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. In his Metaphysics, he claims that there must be a separation, an unchanging being that is the source of all beings. So if you want to grow, you're going to have consistency. And to have consistency, you're going to need an ideal or a character to follow. Now, how does this relate to the stock market? Now, what is the stock market? All right, so the stock market is a tool. It's a tool to raise money and transfer risk to the long-term investors. There is constant communication for resources. And for efficiency purposes, it's best that you specialize in your negotiation approach. Now, if we look at Aristotle's modes of persuasion, this can help us to specialize and see how it relates to the market. Now, he categorizes the three modes as ethos, pathos, and logos. They each appeal to their own nature in a human. Now, that's ethics, emotions, and logic. So we know in the stock market, there's people. And with the people, there's also money. So the key players in the market are the corporations and institutions with a lot of money. And what they do is they create an algo to trade for them because they're dealing with a lot of money and it's too hard for a person to manage. And when they do have a person manage, it's personally tailored to their risk profile and their investment style. So when it comes to the players in the market, you have the robots, the cyborgs, and the retail. Now, those robots are algos created by the institutions, and those robots create the market, and they create a market for the professional traders. And those professional traders, I like to call them cyborgs. The reason you need a cyborg is because you can be efficient with getting money from the market, but you can get a little bit more if you can understand the emotions inside of that market. That's how they earn their keep. Now, the retail investor is a personal size hedge fund. It's an individual hedge fund that typically has less information and less capital. In the grand scheme of things, retail are parasites with addictions. Now, the definition of a parasite, they're thieves, but they don't steal a lot. Now, in all cases, the robots, the cyborgs, and the retail, they're all thinking from the market's perspective. You get in, you get out. You're taking other people's money, and everything tastes better stolen. They have to tap into the collective consciousness and rhythm of the market. Now, to make up for the difference in weight class, retail have to be extremely selective with their trades. The stock market trains you to be selective with your trades, and you can see this in its pattern cycles that have large elastic swings as it traces the trend. Now, the market is ambiguous in nature, so you have to lead with your safety first, because human beings tend to pollute their logic in unscripted situations. And that's why you see in Aristotle's work, in his Metaphysics, he claims that there must be a separate and unchanging being at the source of all beings. This pretty much means you need to follow an ideal or a character for consistency if you choose to grow for spiritual purposes. Which brings us to the emotional side of things. He holds that it is only by becoming excellent that one could achieve eudaimonia, which is a sort of happiness or blissness that constitutes the best kind of human life. Now, what this says to me is if you want true happiness, that comes from growth. If you want happiness, that comes from progress. And you can see this in the stock market every day, which brings us to the emotional side of the market. Now, emotions is information that has sentimental value to that particular group or individual. Emotion, it's the current internal state of well-being in which you have complete control of your reaction. So in the stock market, most people lose money. So it's pretty common to be in an uncomfortable situation. And when you look at those people in the market, they might seem jaded, or on the other side of the scale, they look addicted or juiced. Now, those are bipolar parasites. However, internally, they're just speed running the grieving process. Now, the stages of grief look like denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. This is all until the next disaster happens, like the weather or a fight over resources. In any case, it's easy to affect the sentiment of the market. The cold during the winter can be depressing when there's a lack of sunlight. The heat during the summer is pretty intense, and that can cause stress and lapses in judgment. There's a study that answered the question of why is it so hard to think in the heat? The decision-making process from the brain requires glucose, and glucose is involved in regulating body temperature. Now, humans need more energy to cool down than to warm up. So in hot environments, the body uses more glucose, leaving less available for the brain. The conversation between the mind and the body, they're usually connected. Sugar, 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 sugar. So this week we had heat waves, increasing chances of power grid failure, potentially causing rolling blackouts in California. Northern California had dozens of cities go dark. During this event, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he asked Californians to ration energy. Over in Europe, it's a lot worse, and a lot of fingers were being pointed at the people at the top, the elites, saying that they don't care or they're making things worse, driving the entire country into poverty. It wasn't a surprise when the governor came out and said, how about we ration our energy too? It's to the point where it's illegal to freely use your thermostat. In Switzerland, they're actually threatening jail time if you abuse your thermostat during the winter. Now, the Californians must have been feeling a lot of empathy because at the end of the day, the blackout was averted by most Californians. That's over 90% of them. Out of the 480 cities, about 30 of them went black. However, that didn't stop them from roasting and lashing out at the governor. The Californians are looking at Europe and they're wondering if that's their near future. And at the root of it all comes back to fights over resources and war. Now, are things going to get better before the winter? We don't know. But let's go back to the governor. They were roasting the governor for wearing a fleece jacket as he was telling Californians not to use their AC after 4 p.m. Now remember, we're talking about change in the market. Overall, the market, it stays the same. It's the same psychology. It's the same physics. People at the top rotate slow and the people at the bottom rotate very fast. It's just moving money and communication. And at the root of it all, emotions and money, they're deeply rooted and connected. And you learn that when you learn the value of a dollar. And we all learn the value of money in pretty much the same way. Our parents told us not to spend money like we have a hole in our pocket. Grandma told us to save as much as possible. You go to school, they told you to work until you're like a slave and then have 2 to 5 jobs. You got that weird uncle with a crooked eye and a fake tooth, and he asks you if you want a side hustle. And then you have the 4th stage. This is where you go for quality investments that are emotionally or financially efficient. You invest in your own business or real estate, things that have stability and yields that give you assets. So to wrap it up, we figured out some things thanks to Aristotle. Trading is a journey. Happiness is a journey. You need a goal, and then making progress towards that goal, you need to have consistency and discipline. And true happiness comes from growth, going towards that goal. And in the stock market, that can look like you becoming a cyborg, the human algo. All right, that's all today, folks. If you like what you saw, let me know what you liked in the comments. I'll see you next time in the next video. Peace.